This is for you if you are a designer who has hesitated to specify steam because it feels complicated. Here's how Mr. Steam explains it. A steam shower works on the same logic as a hot water heater. Water in, hot steam out. The specification, variables, space dimensions, wall materials, electrical, plumbing, finishes are ones that you are already managing every day. Mr. Steam has built a tool called the Pathway to Steam that walks you through every decision, and their virtual spa tool turns those answers into a complete spec at list price ready to present to your client or share with your contractor. You don't even need an account. Go to luannigara.com/Mr. Steam to learn more. That's luannigara.com/Mr. Steam. Welcome to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. If you are a longtime listener of the show, then you already know that I believe in talking about and taking action about diversity, particularly in our industry. I am the white person who has confronted my own privilege and with intention has started to listen better. I've tried to use this platform to give space to voices that know far more than I do, including designers of color and anyone doing the work of explaining what should not have to be explained. This episode is presented in partnership with the Diversity Advocacy Alliance, a group dedicated to advancing, improving, and supporting diversity by cultivating a welcoming environment and expanding representation of the BIPOC community within the home furnishings industry and its leadership. If you want to be an ally and don't know where to start, the Diversity Advocacy Alliance is the place to start. My guests today are Ben Johnston and Arianne Bellizaire. Ben is the founder of Benjamin Johnston Design, a Houston-based luxury interior design and architecture firm, and he is the 2026 chair of the Diversity Advocacy Alliance. If his name sounds familiar, it's probably from one of his 3 licensed product collections: furniture with Chaddock, rugs with Madison Lilly, and textiles with Fabric Cuts S. Harris brand, or possibly from his book with Rizzoli, Refined Interiors, Timeless Homes for Modern Living, which came out this past February. Arianne is the founder of Arianne Bellizaire Interiors, and she is a founding committee member of the DAA. If her name sounds familiar, it might be because she was lead designer on ABC's reboot of Extreme Makeover Home Edition, or because you've seen her work in Architectural Digest, Forbes, or House Beautiful. She is also, in full disclosure, my dear friend. She has spoken at my live events, sat on panels with me more times than I can count, taught inside of Luann University, and has also been a student at Luann University. And Arianne now sits on my board in the boardroom for creatives. So when I tell you that this woman shows up, learns, turns around and teaches again, and then shows up again, I've watched it happen firsthand. Ben and Arianne are here to give us an insider look into the Diversity Advocacy Alliance, why it matters, what it looks like to uncover the blind spots that we don't realize we have, and what it actually looks like to give space for diverse talent to rise. I'm happy to introduce you to Ben and Arianne. Arianne. Hey, Ben. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, Luann. I'm so happy to be here.
Good morning, Luann. Great to see you.
So, guys, I'm looking forward to this conversation because it's such an important topic for our industry. I think I think if I'm truthful, I'm sitting here going, "Are you going to say this out loud, girl?" I'm like, "Yep, I am." I think if I'm truthful, there are probably people that are like, "Do we still need to talk about this?" And I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, though we do, we
Hmm.
do. And I know that you both agree, which is why you're here. And I'm, for one, looking forward to this conversation because we're going to start with Ben. You told me a story about how you came to just be a part and be aware and
Right.
whatever the origin story the words are, but share that story with us, Ben.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I grew up here in Houston, Texas, and I see a tremendous amount of diversity in our city, and it's something that always kind of struck me that as I started getting into the design industry, that I saw a lack of it. And a few years ago, I was actually at a High Point Market Style Spotters reunion, and I was sitting with my great dear friend Ariane and as well as Erica Ward, and we were
Mm,
having a conversation, and I said, I'm really interested, ladies. Like, tell me, why is it that I see such a lack of diversity in our industry? And I was really asking those questions, without really understanding, why. And I needed to be educated. I was there to learn.
mm.
And so, Ariane, you can maybe share a little bit about what you told me
Yeah,
at that
what was
time.
your answer to that, Ariane? What was
Yeah.
your
Well,
take or point of view on that?
first of all, I absolutely fell in love with Ben the first time I met him. And I was like, he is a long lost brother. And so we had known each other, I think, a few years before this conversation happened, which is an important part of the context
Yeah.
Mm,
because there was a safe space, right?
mm,
That was already established in our friendship. And we were talking about life. And then this came up in the conversation. It wasn't like he just kind of like saw me, came over
yeah.
to me, was like, "Hey,
Reporter on
stranger,
the
I have
news.
these."
Please
And
tell us what's
because
wrong with the industry.
exactly, let's be real. Sometimes that's what happens, right? You're just like now you're speaking for the entire population of African American designers. That
Yeah.
the context was this is a friend who was leading with his heart and curiosity, and I
Mm,
think that's an important part to understand because the way I responded, I felt safe enough and comfortable enough with
mm,
him to just really be honest about why I didn't go to school for design straight out of the gate. This is my second career. If you look at many of the designers of color who've come to this industry, they come to it. It's almost like we're called to it after we do what we thought we were supposed to
supposed to
do,
do.
right?
Yes.
And so, just giving him that insight of it's really difficult to grow up aspiring to be something that you don't have a picture of. If
Mm,
you don't have a reference point for not only the field of design, but someone who does it,
hmm.
where you have all these other careers that you could point to. My aunt's a doctor, my uncle's an attorney, whatever. You have a model that you
Yes.
say, oh well, I have someone that I admire that I aspire to be like.
Hmm.
There's it's better now, but before it was really difficult to point to someone that looked like me who was doing what I now do.
Mm,
And that is the first barrier of entry for people of color. The second is understanding and knowing that it is a viable um, career that you can make, a really good life with, because many of us are taught that we have to go to school and get a career it's going to make us successful. And we bear the weight of not just our dreams, but legacies of
mm,
dreams, right? We might be the first person in our family to get to go to college. We might be the first person in our family to move out of our state. We might be the first person in our family to see the world. And design is so much about a mix of art and science that you
mm.
actually have to have a reference for the world and lived experience to be good at it.
It's
So
true.
when you really talk to someone about it and you have someone who is willing to listen like Ben. He didn't come at it like, why don't y'all blah blah blah? Or, like,
Just
what's
pick
the
yourself
deal?
up by your bootstraps and get there on those
Yes,
panels.
exactly. What's the deal? For him to say, I see something that doesn't make sense to me. I'm sure there's a reason I'm not understanding. That curiosity and willingness to say, I don't know,
Mm,
is so important to have the right, healthy, and productive conversations. Because what I gave him in the reasoning was something he didn't expect. I mean, I don't know what he would have expected me to say, but for me to break down just the mental barrier of
mm,
even considering this as a career, in terms of going into a 4-year career, I think that was a great like aha for him. And so he and I are having this conversation. We're locking eye, we're in it. We're in it. And we don't even realize that Ashley Grigg with High Point Market is listening. She's like dialed in.
Yeah, like a little fly on the wall, right?
This conversation is fascinating to me. And I think that was the start of something beautiful.
Well, and
so
that,
from that, Ben, that's when, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say it's funny because I did not realize at that time that there had been an organization formed by the High Point Market Authority called the Diversity Advocacy Alliance. And this was something that was started by Ashley and her team at High Point Market. And she was very keyed in on my conversation because she said, okay, well, this is a conversation that needs to be had. And this is somebody who's coming at it, to it from an authentic perspective. And this may be somebody who would like to get involved with our advisory committee. So just a little bit of background, Diversity Advocacy Alliance is really as an organization that's dedicated to advancing, improving, and supporting diversity by cultivating kind of a welcoming environment in the design industry, and really about expanding representation of the BIPOC community through various events and programming that we have at High Point Market. What's super exciting for us is that as we look ahead to the future of this organization, we really, as an organization, want to expand and do more, even more work than we're doing. And it was really interesting for me to be recruited in this way because I was having this authentic conversation, and I got involved, and I've been involved now for I'm almost going to say, I think it's been about 3 years, 4 years.
3? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm currently the chair of the organization for 2026. And I was preceded by Deval Reynolds, our dear friend, who served a year, actually 2 years as chair, and was preceded by Patty Carpenter, who is an amazing organization and still very involved. So being able to work with this incredible group of people, Arianne being one of them, was really a highlight of my last few years in this industry.
Yeah. So what's funny is when I first heard a snippet of this story, I assumed that this happened and then Ashley jumped on the ball and said, we've got to create this. So it was already existing,
Correct.
But it was just this level that she's like, oh, I need you two people to make it the next level of what it could be, it sounds like.
Correct.
Yeah. I think that the original core group of people who were at the table for the Diversity Advocacy Alliance were called in during the time of heightened social injustice around, we were all doing the work. We were all trying to figure out how we can make an impact in our own lanes. And so that core group really was at the table to help High Point Market understand how to see past their blind spots and how to create opportunities that would ensure that our industry could be more diverse, but not only the industry, the market would look different, right? So I admire the group of people who started it so much because they came in being willing to be open and being willing to challenge and to push, in even small ways, big ways, and everything in between. And they were laying the foundation, and Ashley was aware enough that the work would need to continue on different levels to keep her ears open. And I think what probably clued her into inviting Ben to be at the table, and what I appreciate is, BIPOC is not just Black, right? Diversity is not just Black. When we sit at the table and talk about diversity, we're talking about race, we're talking about, identity, we're talking about, mental health, we're talking about, if there are disabilities, we are talking about the breadth of what it means to be a diverse perspective in this industry, which is something I want people to know about. When we say get involved, we are not looking for one specific demographic. We want everyone who has a diverse perspective or who finds that they are a true ally, like Ben, who is curious and intentional. That is who we want at the table. And what Ben was offering back to me when I was telling him my perspective was not, let's be real, sometimes people will push you. Are you sure though? I mean, really, is it that hard?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have that issue. And I didn't have. And so it's all about them invalidating what you're saying versus what he was doing was going,
Let me
Wow,
think.
I never thought about that. And I've been someone who's always been intentional about looking for, diverse people when I hire. He's telling me how he, without even knowing it, was being very intentional, not at the expense of a group of people, but
Right.
in an effort
But looking
to make
for the
sure.
best person for the best situation,
And
whatever it is, regardless
thank
of
you.
their alignment with your personal life.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Just
it.
like,
And
who's the
and
best person for this job?
who's the best
Period.
and so
Whether the
the
job is a
the take
panel, the job is an
a,
assistant in your
a
firm, it's a
brand
job is
partnership,
whatever. Yeah.
whatever it is,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
are
yeah.
you the most qualified? And the only way to know that you've got the person that's most qualified is to cast your net as wide as you can. That is why the
And
work
have
of this
conversations
and
with
have
everyone,
conversations.
not just the ones that look like you.
Right.
Exactly.
So you can't say we don't have a diverse panel because we didn't know
Yeah.
if you're not looking.
Yeah.
And you can't say, well, people should tell me they want to be a part of it if they don't see themselves in other panels and see an example of them even having the shot. Now, unless you're made like me, I will just
Yes, you will come down and say, hello, I'm good at this. Put me on here.
right. But I have learned recently that's my superpower. I thought everybody moved that way. No.
No.
So you have to appreciate some people are not comfortable putting themselves out there if they don't feel like they're going to be received. So
No.
you have to meet them with intention. You have to create the space for safe conversations. And that is what the organization continues to do. And what Ben is alluding to is now we get to do it at a even bigger level.
Yeah.
Now we get to think beyond the walls of, what does it mean to have be intentional about diversity during the week of market, twice a year. Now it's like,
Yeah,
how
just
can we
2
do
weeks
this
of the
all
year.
year round,
Yeah.
all over, not just the country, but internationally?
Well, and I want to go back to something that Ariane was just saying, which is I remember, Ariane and I have been friends, as she said, for many years, and we will often have these long heart-to-heart conversations over the phone. She's in Baton Rouge, I'm in Houston. We, of course, love to get together as well in person, but one of the things that I remember asking her early in 2023 was I said, well, so what are some of your goals? And she says, I want to be involved with a national show house. Like, I think it's time. I
This
want
is
to do
such a
this
good story.
in my
It's
career.
such a good story.
So it was funny because, probably a few months went by and I got a call from the organizers from Flower Magazine to be a part of their show house that was happening in Baton Rouge, which is of course where
And you're
Ariane's from.
in Houston, and
And I'm
they're
in
calling
Houston.
you.
They're
Okay,
calling me.
just
Important part of the story.
emphasize that here, my friends.
So
Don't lose track of that thread.
yeah, exactly.
It's an important part of the story.
And of course, one of the things that you always want to be cognizant of is like, well, who else is involved in the show house?
Yeah.
Because, designers will often get a lot of invitations to be a part of different show houses. And you want to make sure, again, intentionally, that you're pursuing the opportunities that feel right and good to you. And so I looked at the roster, and at the time that I was floated the roster of designers, there was nobody of color that was invited to be a participant in that show house. And they had asked me, they wanted me to do the whole primary suite that included the bedroom, the bathroom, the closet, and also being just logistically so far away from being able to
And
do
it's
it.
3 spaces. I mean, it could be given to 3 different designers.
100%. And so when I looked at the roster and I said,
Arianne's like, tell me more.
I
Tell
was
me
like,
what I don't know.
I literally said to them, I called Ariane first and I said, Ariane, this is happening in your community. Were you aware? And she said no. And I said, were you invited? She said no. And so I said,
wait, I have to stop. You cannot. There is no way I will accept, especially as late as 2023, when I found her in 2016, that if you Google best interior designers Louisiana, she's not coming up.
Well,
how do you do an invitation to a show house and not start out with the best of the best in the damn town? Oh my God, I just cursed on air.
But no, and I want to say to the credit of a lot of show houses, they're not focused on local talent. And even though I think
names.
It's about
but
names.
You are a big name, and you need that anchor talent from local.
I
I'm
100%
sorry.
agree, but the magazine was not aware of Ariane, and they were not aware that she was a Baton Rouge designer. They were not aware of a lot of things. So for
it's
me,
clear they weren't looking. That's what I'm saying. They weren't looking.
And
like Arianne said, I got to go knock on every single editor's door on the planet and be like, hey, here I am.
Hey, girl.
Anyway, I
But-
don't know. This just gets me riled. From a
Well,
business perspective, it gets me riled. Forget, what you do as a good human, but
Yeah.
I'm running a show house. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
I know.
Anyway,
But I will
I'll let you
say,
finish your story.
as
I'll try
soon as
to.
I said to them, I said, I really think you'll need to consider Ariane. And in fact, I am not going to do this show house unless Ariane is invited to participate. She's a local designer. She has the most to gain out of this experience from just the perspective of like she could actually get clients in this
Projects.
community. All the other
Yeah.
designers that were not, they were shipped in from all over the country.
Mhm.
They had less to gain than somebody like Ariane. So
Yeah.
in any
Yeah.
event, I drew my line in the sand, and they were like, "Great, we would love to have Ariane involved." And it was really, from that opportunity, Ariane just completely rocked this opportunity. And I'm going to
Of
brag on
course
her.
she
I'm going to
did.
brag on her for a second. Not only did she do the most jaw-dropping bathroom and jaw-dropping closet, but of all the magazine images that were taken for that issue, Ariane ended up as the cover of the magazine. And yes, claps all the way
Yes,
around.
yes.
And what again, out of without intention necessarily, the magazine didn't realize, but they had put the first Black woman on the cover of the magazine that they had ever created,
Mhm.
ever done. So this was really a milestone for representation, for Ariane to be there in that kind of very coveted spot.
Oh my
Yeah, Ben
goodness.
is amazing. That is literally one of my favorite stories. I get goosebumps every time I tell it or he tells it, because first, it is such a beautiful picture of what true advocacy means. True advocacy and being aligned with the mission is actually stepping back and zooming out from the focus of you to the full perspective.
Mhm.
He could have so easily assessed that opportunity based on his interest, made a decision, accepted the spot, and moved on.
Mhm.
And nobody would have faulted him. Nobody would have blamed him. No one would have said it's your responsibility. But because he's intentional, he wanted to see what was aligned. And he wasn't looking for like, I'm looking for like the big names,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's part of it. But he was also aware enough to go, well, all these people are great, but where is the diversity?
Yeah.
In Louisiana.
Like let's
for
not
a
even
show
talk about
house.
the fact that Ariane lives there. It's not even about me. It's the
Yeah.
fact that it just doesn't represent
the community.
the community, right? So to be willing to speak truth to power in that way and to say, I will put my neck on the line and I will remove myself if you don't take seriously what I'm telling you.
Mhm.
He could have, I would never have known. Literally,
right,
Ben
right,
could have,
right.
no, seriously.
Right.
He could have made a decision. I would never have known. He would have, because he's my friend, I would have seen him in the show house. I would have been there to celebrate him. I would
Right.
never have
Wouldn't
judged
have
him.
thought twice.
But when he called me, we talk about his version of the story is very like, he was on it, right? My version of the story is very whimsical, romantic. Like it's me making my vision board in January of 2023 and saying, I want to be more creative and I aspire to have these opportunities where I can really show my what I can really do. Like, God bless the client, but they are so timid. I just want to like show what I can really do. And I'm just calling in opportunity. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going to speak it into existence. I'm going to speak. Louie, you know this about me.
I know. We're the same way. Tell the
I'm gonna
universe what you want.
speak.
Write the menu, pal.
Absolutely. And so anyone who asked me what I wanted to do in 2023, I said boldly, I'm going to be a part of the show house. Which one? I don't know, girl.
I don't know yet.
I don't know.
They don't know yet.
They don't know. I don't know. But I'm going to do a show. I'm going to do something creative. I'm going to do something bold and creative. And literally 3 months later, Ben sends me a text. He's like, hey, friend, you got a minute? What are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm out and about. He's like, I'm going to send you some information. Have you heard of this show house? And I'm like, no. He's like, it's in Baton Rouge. You telling me you haven't heard of it? No. Okay, bet. I'm going to send you something. I want you to take a look at it. If you want this opportunity, please let me know. And I'm like, I don't even have the frame of reference.
Yeah, you don't know what he's doing in the
No,
background. You're
I
just like,
don't. I
he's a
just
friend
think
telling a friend about a show
exactly
house.
right. Exactly right. And so that's telling about his character. He didn't come in and say, I'm going to be your big bad. He was just like, look, I want to know you're curious. And I think I remember you saying you wanted, this is your dream, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Is this going to fit in your schedule? I'm like, yeah. So he says, I got it. And he makes his phone call. He does what he does in the background. Next thing you know, I get a call from the magazine. Hey, girl. Hey. And I'm like,
oh,
hey.
We see you're doing beautiful work out there.
We were thinking about the people that would be great for this opportunity. And God bless them. I have come out on the back. I want you to know the story it ends on a high note. I had an amazing experience. I got to design not one, but two incredible spaces that I'm super proud of. It was hard work, but it was also a great opportunity to work with Ben because I was his eyes on the ground sometimes here. I have a strong relationship with that magazine, and I not for 1 minute believe that I am on that cover because of anything other than my talent.
No.
Exactly.
I know that it was just getting to the table.
Yes.
That was the work. And if you talk to people of color, anyone who is in the diverse community, they will tell you, and this is a word for someone who might be evolving, might be coming out, maybe changing their perspective. If you think that our mission is to come and take away an opportunity from you, you're sadly mistaken. All we want is a chance to be at the table, to be considered with the rest of the talent. That's it. Yeah. And unfortunately, you have to do a little more work to get us to the table because we're either not aware, we have trauma from being blocked, we have been excluded. That is why you have to do the work to invite us to the table. But we're not asking you to give us anything that we didn't earn.
Special dispensation.
That's it.
It's just like, I'm qualified. But I think two things in that scenario. It sounds like to me that the experience went well. The organizers were good humans. The magazine is good humans. And it's truly a case of ignorance, and which, you can be ignorant once. That's the only time you can be ignorant, right? You can't be ignorant twice, right? Because once you know, exactly, right? But the thing about it that I think is kind of at the core here, from the industry perspective, that I want to say, I think the industry chops itself off at its knees when it doesn't do the work that you just described. That magazine and that show house, yay them that they ended up doing the right thing. Yay them. I'm really not bashing them. But, I mean, it's 2023. How are you not looking around? I'm like, it's not 1963 and we're not looking around. I just have a little less patience for that personally. And then also, too, what it reminded me of, Arianne, is when you went, you're doing a show house for the community. This isn't a hobby. This is a lot of work for the organizers to put on. And you're doing it for the community that the show house is in. And when it reminds me of is when you were talking about how when you are a young kid in middle school, high school, college, and you don't see people of color as designers, so you don't realize it's available to you. Well, what? A community like Baton Rouge, if all of the designers are white, isn't that the same problem that the community that's coming to the show house, this is all beautiful, but where are the people that I'm comfortable with? Where are I know 4 designers in Baton Rouge because I'm of color, and I think it almost is like that same thing. It's like taking, I don't know, the idea of the show house is for the community to find designers. It's a fundraiser. I get it. But the idea is for the community who is inclined to work with a designer to find them, to vet them all at one time, to see their aesthetic. And that's why, look, I'm not going to say there aren't show houses that, do pull from an a national level. And there's some reason to do that for exposure or Instagram, whatever, clicks. But it just seems to me from a business model, and maybe somebody who runs a show house could school me differently because, I haven't exactly run a show house before, but it just feels like from a business model, I would want 75% of the designers from the community so that the people who walk through it can say, oh, I want to do design. Can I hire you? How likely is somebody to their first choice is a designer from Houston when they live in Baton Rouge?
Right.
How likely is that? It's not likely. It's
Well,
second or third,
and
right?
part
No,
of that
am I
part of that
crazy?
is that they're looking for for me, I have a furniture collection, I have a fabric collection, I have a rug collection. They're
Mm,
looking at
Busy
some
man.
designers purely from the business perspective of
that's
who
right.
could be advertisers in the
Yes.
magazine.
Hmm.
But
So
I mean,
they're
25%. Come on.
I
Give the
agree.
rest to the place that it
But
exists.
and I want to also talk about the fact that ASID did a study that was published last year, so it's fairly recent, and they did a survey of all of their members and the industry at large, and what they found is that 76% of our design community identifies as Caucasian. And then from that, you have 11% that identify as Hispanic, 3% that identify as Asian, and 3% that identify as Black. If you
Wow.
look at that kind of lack of diversity
Hmm.
within our organization, that is what's kind of shocking to me as well. And,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I appreciated about that study, though, is that they did look a little further out. They looked at students who were in design programs
Oh.
across the country, and the numbers are more promising for the future. But I do
Hmm.
believe that the reason is more promising and more designers have access to education and are encouraged by their family and their communities to pursue a career in design is because of people like Arianne. And, it's pretty remarkable because the same year that Arianne was doing that show house for Flower Magazine, she also did. I mean, this woman is a master of manifestation. She
I
also
truly,
she did,
scarily,
she
truly.
did she also
Gotta
got
be more
invited
specific.
to do the House Beautiful show house in Chicago
Same year.
Oh
same
my
year,
God.
And
and she was also auditioning for Extreme Makeover
I
and
know.
then
and filming
cast
that show.
and filming that show that same year. It was the
It's great. That
craziest
was a
year.
heck of a year.
It was literally my lesson in
Yeah.
manifestation. I said, "Okay, girl,
Oh, yeah. Be careful what you ask
very,
for.
very careful with your words.
Yeah.
Very careful. Would not trade a minute of it. But
Yeah.
it your words are so powerful both ways, and
Both ways.
I think that when people listen to us speak and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so passionate about wanting to be a part of this movement and being a good citizen and being open and a proponent for diversity, but that feels so big. I want you to know that you can start with your words.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You can
yeah, yeah.
start with what's possible for you, for people who don't look like you. You can think through their lived experience, or if you don't know, be curious,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right? Be curious about it.
Yep.
Like track it. Okay, well, if I didn't know from the age of 3 that I wanted to be like my aunt who owns her own store and is a designer, right? How would I have gotten into this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Would I have been able to do an unpaid internship, or would I have had to get a job to
Right.
pay my bills, right?
Right.
Would I have had a portfolio worth anything the first 5 years
Right.
had I not had a cousin who owns an island? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
that, being willing to really step outside of your lived experience and go, there's somebody else that now I admire so much how much it took for them to get here.
Yes.
I admire what they had to overcome and how they had to think differently and how they had to learn a whole vernacular and had to learn cultural references and had to learn about art and art history and travel so that they could bring, a level of sophistication to their spaces that it really is like learning a different language.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I pour into people who look like me, who are coming into an industry, and I know they're feeling imposter
Mhm.
syndrome. I know they're feeling like, I don't know, do I have this? And I tell them, you start with your words.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to my friend Susan Winterstein. You may know Susan from her 2 podcast appearances here, episodes 164 and 717. In these episodes, Susan told us about her charity that she founded, Savvy Giving by Design. Now she has introduced the Savvy Giving Design Coalition. The mission of both of these is to bring comfort and hope to families by transforming kids' rooms into healing sanctuaries. Previously, in order to help Savvy Giving by Design, you could open a chapter in your own area and then design spaces for children in your area that are in need. Now, with the Savvy Giving Design Coalition, you can contribute and impact the lives of these children without taking on the beginning of an entirely new chapter. Savvy Giving Design Coalition operates through the collective efforts of you, the designer, as well as sponsors and volunteers. This organization is making a real difference in these children's lives, and you can help now in whichever way feels right for you. I encourage you to listen to Susan's 2 episodes to learn more, and then visit their website at savvygivingbydesign.org/design coalition. We'll also put that in the show notes. Yes.
You
Well,
start
and
with
it's
your
funny
words.
because you touched on both travel and art history and all of that, right? And I have had conversations with Jamel Williams here, who is a professor in New York City, and Layden Lewis, who is a professor at FIT in New York City. And it was, I think it might have been Jamel was the first one, or it could have been Layden, I don't know. But one of them was the first one that pointed out to me. And it's like, once you see it, you're just like, oh my God, like what? Like how art history is all like European art history. Like with, and by the way, they're not all white, but we certainly have whitened them over the years in all of our, like literally, right? And it's like, bringing into art history, the history of the African continent or, the island, areas. And it's just like, just funny because it's just so deeply ingrained from a white perspective, period, for centuries, for legit. And so now you do have a young person in college who did have, maybe she's now in college and she's 20 years old and she has seen you and Erica Ward and Rashida and Nicole White and Amber Guyton and all those. And so she knows. But then she gets to class and we're only learning about all the white old people from history.
Right.
It's sort of like, wait, I wait, right? So it's just, so to that end, here's the question I want to ask you guys to that end is, I understand. So I want to understand a little bit more about how the DAA is going about this work. So it is one thing, yes, to make sure that the people who are putting people and chairs at the table look and invite all the peoples to the table, right?
Yep.
That's a thing. And you can say it to somebody, and then when you point out where it's not happening, they can, if they have a brain in their head, they go, oh, that's silly. I'm not even opposed to this, but I'm not thinking about it, and now I can. That's fine. To me, that's first level stuff, right? But what I'm curious is, are there activities that you're doing that do that type of thing? Like I'm at advantage. Listen, I'm at an advantage. I've had 1,400 conversations in 10 years, and I've had a lot of very serious, vulnerable, heartfelt conversations with my friends of color in the industry. And I don't think I've ever had a one that didn't hit me the way Ben and your conversation hit, where I was like, oh, like when we've talked about it, right? Like we can putz around and have a drink and that's fine. But when the conversation has been about what can the industry do, there's always a thing that I hadn't thought about. And I'm like, oh, right. And so, or a thing that I didn't look at it completely from the lived experience, because of course I've not lived that experience.
Right.
And so what are those kinds of activities where you're basically, I'm just going to say it in the most crass way, having activities where you can show white people what they don't know they don't know. Like that's what it is, because there are people like Ben and myself that are open, but maybe we don't always, we're further down the road, but there's others that are just coming to the conversation and coming to the realization and saying, okay, so what are there activities like that that aren't just here's an opportunity for you, designer of color, but here's how we're going to keep educating the broader industry about you use the word, one of you, the blind spots that the industry has, right? Because there's still blind spots, period, right?
There are. Well, and I
So
was going to
what's
say,
happening in that regard?
well, so great question. So, there's several ways that we've been addressing living our mission through this organization, and one is that every fall we actually do an award ceremony where we are lifting up either individuals and or companies that are what we believe advocating for diversity, representing diversity more fully,
Doing the things, not
doing the
talking
things,
about the things. These are
and
individuals and companies that you recognize
living the
as a group are
missions.
doing the things.
Right.
Correct. And so we do an award ceremony every fall. And then every spring, we also have a variety of different programming that we do. But I want to go back to the award ceremony for just a moment. We are actually, the nominations are open this summer. They open up during the summer, and we, as a board, vote on who we believe is most deserving from the nominees that are submitted, but for those awards. So I just want to make a plug for that. And then the second thing I was just going to say is every spring we've been doing a workshop called the Insider Access Experience, and this is not just about representation, because we do invite BIPOC designers to be a part of these leadership roles, but we also do a workshop, and the workshop can be about business. The workshop can be about marketing it yourself, about basics in design. It can be about how to navigate market. It could be about all sorts of things that would be of interest for designers to learn, because education, again, is often a limiting factor for many people who are pursuing this industry if they come from a diverse background. So
Right.
education is another aspect. We are
Hmm.
expanding as an organization. We are taking this work nationally, and we are starting events actually this summer. We have two events, one on this week on June 10th. We're doing an event at Fabricut Showroom in Houston,
Mm.
and then we are doing another event on June 23rd. With another group of designers, and we're doing that in the Fabricut showroom in Atlanta. So we're doing two events, and both of them are really about identifying leading voices in those communities of BIPOC designers to really talk about their experience, and talk about their perspective on our industry and what lessons they've learned in this
Mm.
journey. So those are what two events that we're doing. And then one of the great things that we've done is also pair BIPOC designers with incredible podcasts across the country, either
Hmm.
focused on design or on our industry, and this is being one of those. And I really
Hmm.
appreciate and you heeding the call and saying, hey, let's do a DAA dedicated episode. So I really
Sure.
appreciate you giving us a platform to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I don't know. It just, listen, through really deep, Ariane,
Hmm.
Cheryl Luckett,
Hmm.
Corey Damon, Gail Davis, Kay Whitaker. I can, keep going down the line. These are all people that I knew were my friend, and I called my friend, and it was mutual. But there was a different conversation in 2020, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, 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 oh,
Yep.
and it was eye opening. It was eye opening to understand that there is a difference to just being truly open minded one to one and
Hmm.
giving opportunity one to one, and not recognizing that the door isn't really open for everyone. Just
Right.
because you opened your little door doesn't mean all the doors are open.
No.
And then
Yeah.
also the big awareness of um the inherent privilege that
Yeah.
comes with being white.
Yeah.
Totally, totally over my head. I've said it before. I did not grasp it.
Yeah.
I had the misguided, mistaken, ridiculously silly, absurd point of view that I didn't come from money, so my experience was the same. Like, you know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when you really have somebody that you respect and you care about in a friendship, go,
Hmm.
sit down, pal. Let's talk
Yeah.
about this. Not being raised with money, but still being white is a heck of a lot different. You could
Yeah.
be raised with money and be of color, and you don't
Yeah.
have the privilege that
Absolutely
you
right.
had. And
Absolutely
that
right.
was my eye opening that summer. And I was so grateful to all of you that did come on and and I, I've had conversations before and after with those of you that during that summer, said to me, there's not a chance. I don't want to say who it was because I don't know if that person would want it to be revealed, but
Mm-hmm.
literally said to me afterwards, there was not one part of me that wanted to do this today. It
Mm-hmm.
was too raw, too
Mm-hmm.
upsetting,
Mm-hmm.
too everything. And the person said, but I looked at my husband and he looked at me and he said, it's Lou.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
just it's okay. Get your voice out there on this topic. She'll take it. She
Yeah.
and that was huge for me,
Yeah.
right? But like, and that came after the conversation, and I was just like, whoa, you cannot underestimate, and you cannot just,
Yeah.
you know, look around and go, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
There is a real thing here, you
Well,
know.
Yeah.
and
And
we
thank you for
appreciate it.
acknowledging well, first of all, creating the space at that time for the outlet of grief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
that's what
that
it
was
was.
really important for a lot of us. It was also terrifying for those of us who know
Yes,
we
that
have been called to speak truth. I mean, listen, nobody, like, I probably didn't tell you that, but
yeah.
I didn't really
Yeah.
love the idea of being that raw. In fact, I remember our call was about me being an accidental activist because I accidentally started a book club of over 200 people to
Yes.
talk about how to be an
Yes.
anti-racist.
Yes.
What?
Yet another
um,
calling.
right.
Right?
But it's absolutely important to create the space for people to share their truth, to be a safe space for them, one that comes from a heart of curiosity. When
Mhm.
nobody's asking you to solve the problems of the world,
Right.
but if you're open to being curious and to listening and to letting that shift your understanding and perspective, it changes the way you move and the way you speak. And I feel like, the work that DAA is doing is so critical right now.
Yeah.
If you look at how DEI has become a bad word. If you look
Yes.
at all of the companies that were all in 2020 because, financially they needed to be. And as soon as it felt like they have an outlet or excuse to not make that a priority, they pulled those programs back. That
Mhm.
hurts.
Mhm.
That really, really hurts because it feels like it
It
wasn't
wasn't real.
real.
Authentic.
It was
It wasn't
performative, right? It
authentic.
was like,
Yeah.
let's look good.
Yeah. And so when I admire and respect High Point Market Authority
Yes.
for keeping the organization alive. I respect the work of everyone who's come through the doors as a board member or member of DAA, whether they served as a volunteer or did the work to do the meetings and think about the strategy. Everyone who had the courage to sit at a table and say, these are the ways that you guys are falling short.
Yeah.
And for them to hear that and make adjustments. If you look at market now, it looks vastly different
Yeah.
than it did 5 years ago.
It's
I
so true.
respect Ben so much because Ben is a real one. He's a G. That's my guy. Ben is my guy, okay? Because he
Well,
walks the walk, and he's not the only one, but he is a great
Leader
picture.
in it. Yes.
If you want to know what true advocacy and alliance looks like, Ben walks the walk. He is an incredible human being. He is someone that I admire him professionally because he is a badass designer, but he's also such a good human. And to
Yeah.
see him lead the charge as this organization expands and grows, it's going to be amazing. And it's important. It's more important now than it ever was because now it takes courage
Mm.
to focus on diversity. Now you really have to,
Right.
if I'm going to do it, I've got to put some power behind it because there's so many forces coming against anything that feels like it's elevating and amplifying the work of an organization that's focused on diversity. So if you feel inclined, please reach out and figure out how you can be
get
tied into
involved.
this group.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
No, and
Well,
I
and
just want
that's the
to, Luann,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say,
Yeah.
we all have to be the change we want to see in this world.
that's right.
And we have to do it
1000%.
with intention and authenticity. And I think that the thing that I think if there's anything that just puts a burn in my belly, it is really about seeing social injustice. It's about seeing people who are not getting the same opportunities that I myself, as a Caucasian man, have so freely enjoyed. That really is something that really sticks in my
I know.
gut, and it's something that I think for me it comes from an authentic place. But I also think the work that you're doing, Luann, is also from a very authentic place, and you're also providing, as again, living our mission of providing education, and
Mhm.
expanding the opportunities people have to look at their business in a new way, to look at how they can be a better practitioner of design, and I think that that's so critical, and it's something
Yeah,
that I think that you should be also very complimented, and
absolutely
lifted
right.
up for doing that work. So thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure to do it, and I'm glad that I've had the benefit and the opportunity of the very difficult, vulnerable conversations that each of the designers of color were willing to have with me. Because until you've really looked across at somebody's eyes and they've told you a story that you just can't fathom happened in our lifetime because you're just living in your little white world, it's life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is. And it
no
takes
question.
it from, yeah, these are my friends, I'll pull them on a panel. Oh, that's what she's a smart one on that topic. I'll pull it to actually, like you said, intentionally looking at the table and really trying to make the space for everything. So I appreciate that. And I know that I have had a great gift of having these vulnerable conversations with people, to your point, Ariane, that, we felt like we had a friendship first. And
Hmm.
so it wasn't like reporter Luann coming here to ask you as a Black designer, how much does it suck right now? You know what I'm saying? Like, is your heart broken? Like, I mean,
Right.
I knew that your hearts were broken. And, if you have a heart in your body, it was
Yeah,
broken, right? And
yeah.
so I appreciate that gift. That I always call that year was a gift for me, because it really pulled back all of the things that I didn't know. And well, I shouldn't say all, some of the things. I guarantee. That's why I wonder if a lot of these activities are focusing on, what you don't know, that you don't know industry, like open your
Hmm.
eyes, right? And so this leads me to, obviously your call to action for people to join, to put their hand up and say they want to be part of the DAA and they want to be part of this mission. And I just have to say, it's a funny thing. I did learn the difference last October, so almost a year ago, but, and I just have to say it so it's out there. When I was previously seeing advertising and social posts about DAA activities at High Point, I made an assumption that they were for designers of color and that
Hmm.
white people need not attend, right?
Understood.
And it's funny because, Denise Pugh is a good friend of mine, and
Yeah.
yeah, and we a lot of times will hang it all day together at market, different days and stuff. And this one Sunday last October, we were together all day. She's coming to my panels, I'm going to the panels that she wanted to see, and we're just hanging. And all of a sudden she's like, okay, it's time to get over to the DAA. She goes, it was like at 6 o'clock and we were at the rooftop party at Kravit for a little bit or whatever. And I was like, oh, all right, girl, well then I guess I'll see you. And she's like, well, what? And I'm like, well, what do you mean what? And she's like, well, aren't you coming? I'm like, can I come? And she's like, what? And I'm like, well, can I? And she's like,
That's
did you just say that? I'm like,
no,
well,
that's
I
a
don't
great.
know.
Actually, that's a great perspective.
That's
I
what I'm
didn't
saying.
think of that.
And this
Yeah,
was just last October.
I could see it though. I could
Well,
see it.
Well, what
it,
it is it's not like I called anybody and asked them, can I come? I'd like to help. It just felt like,
no,
Yeah.
and that's a good point. I mean, I think a lot of times, and I'll just speak from my perspective, a lot of times, if when you say a person of color, you have in your mindset that you have to be one of those people. Well, diversity represents even all the Caucasian people who want to be involved and want to be allies for change,
okay, right. But
So,
I did
Yes.
not,
yeah. So, by the way,
girl, your world's fine. You just did 14 panels. Remember
Lu-
that?
Luann, I will tell you, even when they asked me if I'd be consider being chair, my first
Yeah.
response was, it seems a little odd that I would be the chair of this Diversity Advocacy Alliance group. Like, this seems a little odd. And they were like, this is precisely why you need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be involved.
Yeah.
This is
Well, I
precisely why
just
you
wanted to
need
bring
to
it
be a
out
chair.
in case somebody's listening and they think the call to action is not to them. That
Yeah, that's
you,
that's fair, and
yeah,
that's great. It is,
Yeah.
you know, it is. If you think about the true core word in the title, it's the advocacy,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's there's diversity, which is our niche. There's the alliance, which is the community, but it's the advocacy, which is the work that all of us are doing, and it's going to take all of us. Because here's the thing: the people of color are often not inside or at the table.
Right.
The people who maybe don't know if they identify with the diversity piece are inside and at the table. And so we need them reaching out,
Yeah.
giving resources, making connections. So much of my life and so many of the things I've been able to do is because someone knew me. Think
Yeah.
about the story with Ben.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have gone my whole life not even knowing
That there was a show house.
so I rolled up one day. What is this? Let me just pop on in. What's happening, people? Like that, and so when you I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is something that I think we want to make sure we're clear up. Everyone who aligns with the mission is invited. Now, if you are not aligned with the mission,
yes, you don't have to come.
Stay home.
Stay home.
Well, and I will tell you, even though it wasn't that I didn't trust Denise's judgment on it, like she was like, "No, don't be." She looks at me, she's like, "Don't be stupid." Like she really just calls me out, right? But I don't know that I would have gone the very first time without walking in with her, because I still would have been like. And then what was crazy was the presentation that night. I literally started to count them. You were on stage that night, Arianne. There were like 12 people that came on stage, and I was like, 10 of these 12 people have been on my show. Like I am in a space with my friends. Like,
yes, you
and
are.
then of course in the audience also standing there watching and everything. And so I just want to say, to echo your point, Arianne, if your heart and your mind calls you to be an advocate, you do not have to be of a certain race, gender, anything to be a part of this organization.
That is your superpower. The fact that you don't look like me is a part of what you bring as a treasure to this organization, because you have privilege and access that I don't have.
So we want to make sure everybody knows, if you're your brain's on straight, come on in.
well, again, thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Luann.
Is there anything that we left out about the DAA that you guys feel like we need to say before we end the episode? Because I just, I admire what you're doing. I admire the courage that it takes to do it. Both of you and all of the people that I saw at the event working so hard to make it, not this, to make the industry accessible, plain English, right? Like for the talent to be able to rise and to be no barrier if the talent exists.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the bottom
perfect
line.
Summary.
Yep. All right, my friends. Love your guts, Arianne. You know I do. And Ben, it's been my great pleasure to get to know you. I appreciate you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Two of my favorite people in the world.
I'm just so grateful to Arianne and Ben for this conversation. I've been in the industry a long time, and yes, do I think that is filled with a lot of wonderful, well-intentioned people? I do. But we really do have to look at how we operate our businesses, and we do have to pay attention to what needs to change in our industry. Okay, let's recap the story of the National Show House. Arianne should have been on that invitation list, period. There was no one better positioned to represent local Baton Rouge talent, full stop, right? They weren't looking for local talent. They should have been. Ben saw that gap and refused to fill in his own spot unless Arianne was brought in too. He drew a line in the sand. And what happened? Well, Arianne knocked it so far out of the park that she landed on the cover of the magazine. You see, her talent was always there. It just took someone with access willing to draw the line in the sand. That's the whole lesson. That's what we mean when we say we need to advocate for designers of color to get access to tables they already deserve to be at. So when people ask me, why do we need to be deliberate about this? Why do we need to go out of our way to make room for designers of colors? I'm going to tell you, that question can only make sense to you if you haven't thought about it. That question can only make sense to you if the industry has always worked just fine for you. It's easy to make an assumption it works the same and works fine for everyone. But here's a newsflash, it does not. Access still isn't equal, and it won't fix itself. That's what we have to change. Ben said it in the stats. 76% of designers in our industry identify as Caucasian. I mean, right there, you can just see the stat and know there's work to do. And if we commit to it, we can make the table wide enough for everyone who deserves to be there. Okay. Now, I shared in this conversation that I wrongly assumed that the Diversity Advocacy Alliance events were for designers of color only. And I am so grateful to my friend Denise Pugh for knocking some sense into me. And if you're listening and you know Denise, you can just picture the look she gave me. Right? So I don't want to be the white person so afraid of stepping on toes that I sit back and let a problem continue. I don't want you to be that white person either. I want us both to be the kind of advocate that Arianne describes, someone who uses their privilege with purpose. Right? Now, here's a place to start straight from Arianne's advice. Start with your words. She and Ben talked about how something as basic as art history gets taught almost entirely from a white European lens without it actually barely getting a notice. If that hit you the way it hit me, you're not the only one circling it. I can remember when both, on two separate podcast interviews, Jamel Williams and then Lady Lewis brought this up. They are both interior designers and they are both design professors at New York City schools. And they made the same point about design education. And when they made it, it just struck me, okay? It's so obvious when you see it. But here's what happens. If you're not talking, openly listening, actively listening, you don't see and you don't hear it. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to open up your eyes, okay? Now, if you want a bigger next step, the DAA is taking this work national this year with new events launching this summer, including their Insider Access Experience workshop, which pairs BIPOC designers with mentorship and real business education. That is a door that you can walk through, and you can also help someone else walk through it. I am so grateful for the DAA and for all of the members of the DAA doing this work. Go out and find out how you can get involved, whether you are a designer of color or someone who wants to be part of the solution. Please don't sit on the sidelines. We can make a difference in our industry, and we can work together to remove the barriers that have held talent back from rising. Okay? Now, side note, if today's conversation with Arianne left you wanting a little more of her incredible brain, you are in luck. Arianne is a board member on my Boardroom for Creatives, where she can work with you on branding, PR, media strategy, and learning how to actually show up on camera in a way that feels like you instead of a performance. She has done this at the highest level, national television, major press, brand partnerships, and she knows how to teach it, not just do it. If you want to figure out your own version of getting seen, whether that's a show house, a magazine feature, or finally just feeling confident on video, you can book time with Arianne directly through theboardroomforcreatives.com. All right, Ben, Arianne, and everyone at the DAA, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Thank you so much for the work that you do. And I will be at your events because Denise made it known to me that that was exactly what I should be doing. So thanks tons. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.